You may feel it already, a quiet tension you can't fully explain. Not anxiety, not fear, but a subtle pressure, as if time itself has narrowed around you. You've done the work, you've waited. You've healed, reflected, surrendered, and tried to prepare yourself for the right moment. Yet something feels different now. The old strategies no longer work. Pushing harder feels wrong. Waiting longer feels impossible. Psychologically, this creates inner conflict. The mind searches for certainty, while the body senses urgency. Spiritually, it can feel unsettling because nothing dramatic has happened. No clear sign, no external confirmation. And yet, deep within, you sense that something important is unfolding. This is the discomfort of standing at a threshold without realizing it. The problem is not that nothing is happening. The problem is that what is happening does not announce itself loudly enough for the ego to recognize. In today's video, we will help you understand what this moment actually is. We will decode why this signal reached you now, why it feels quiet instead of explosive, and why your usual ways of measuring progress no longer apply. You will learn why certain phases of the Divine Feminine journey are not activated by effort, motivation, or force, but by precise timing and presence. We will explore the rare energetic conditions currently active beneath the surface, including a celestial alignment that does not repeat often and does not wait for permission. You will understand why the universe is not asking you to feel ready, confident, or certain, and why those requirements are, in fact, outdated. This is not a call to do more. It is an invitation to recognize where you already stand. By the end of this video, your relationship with time, readiness, and action will shift. You will stop misinterpreting this quiet intensity as stagnation or delay. Instead, you will recognize it as a narrow window, one where timing matters far more than effort, and presence matters more than preparation. Psychologically, this brings relief. Spiritually, it brings clarity. You will understand why the sky is not sending signs, encouragement, or warnings, but marking an opportunity. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. This awareness changes how you move, how you choose, and how you embody the Divine Feminine in moments that quietly decide everything. This is not about believing harder. It is about being here now. Section 1. The rare alignment that changes everything. Beyond the subtle collective shift already rippling through the spiritual field, something far more precise and consequential is unfolding. This is not a vague, energetic mood or a background influence gently shaping events from a distance. We are moving directly through a rare and potent Jupiter-Uranus square alignment, an astrological configuration known for its intensity, its unpredictability, and its irreversible impact on consciousness. This alignment does not whisper, it interrupts. It arrives like a sudden voltage surge through systems that have grown rigid, complacent, or falsely stable. From a psychological and spiritual perspective, this energy is both destabilizing and liberating. Jupiter, the principle of expansion, magnification, and meaning, enlarges whatever it encounters. It exposes patterns, beliefs, and emotional structures that have quietly governed behavior for years. Uranus, by contrast, is the archetype of awakening, rupture, and radical truth. It dismantles illusion without apology. It shatters narratives that once felt safe, but were built on avoidance, suppression, or fear. When these two forces form a tense square, the result is not gentle growth, it is catalytic change. What has been dormant is activated. What has been falsely secure is no longer sustainable. For those walking the twin flame path, this configuration does not operate abstractly. It lands with surgical precision on the unhealed core wound of the divine masculine. Long-standing emotional defenses, avoidance patterns, and unconscious strategies for control or withdrawal are suddenly brought under pressure. The masculine psyche, which often relies on structure, predictability, and emotional containment, finds those coping mechanisms no longer functioning. This is not punishment, it is exposure. The psyche is being forced into awareness of what has been deferred, denied, or buried beneath productivity, logic, or distance. At the same time, this alignment clarifies why the Divine Feminine's timing matters now more than ever. Her role is not to chase rescue, or provoke reaction. It is to hold energetic clarity at the precise moment when the old structures are cracking. Under Jupiter-Uranus tension, premature action, emotional overextension, or reactive communication can amplify instability rather than resolution. Presence, restraint, and internal alignment become far more powerful than effort. This is a moment where frequency outweighs force. Yet this truth cannot be fully grasped without understanding a recurring pattern in the journey. Moments like this almost always reach the divine feminine during a quiet, often uncomfortable stage. Externally, little appears to be happening. Internally, there is restlessness, emotional sensitivity, and a sense that something is imminent but undefined. From a psychological standpoint, this is the threshold state, the liminal phase where old identities have loosened, but new ones have not yet fully formed. It is precisely here that the nervous system learns to tolerate uncertainty without collapsing into old strategies. Spiritually, this timing is deliberate. The divine feminine is contacted not when she is loud, reactive, or seeking confirmation, but when she is stripped down to presence. When she is no longer trying to prove, fix, or accelerate the process, this alignment does not ask for action first, it asks for coherence. The discomfort is not a sign of misalignment. It is evidence that the system is being recalibrated to hold a higher charge. This rare Jupiter-Uranus square is not here to repeat old cycles. It is here to end them. It marks a window where truth cannot remain dormant and false stability cannot be maintained. For those attuned to this path, the question is no longer whether change is coming. It is whether you can remain internally aligned while the old structures fall away. Before we move deeper into the next layer of this transmission, take a moment to feel what this alignment is stirring within you. If something in your body tightened, if your mind went quiet, or if a sense of recognition moved through you rather than excitement, that is information. This work is not meant to rush past your awareness. It is meant to land. If this message resonates, support the channel by liking this video so it can reach others who are standing at the same threshold. I also invite you to leave a comment sharing what this moment is activating for you, or simply type the affirmation, "I remain aligned as truth unfolds," as a signal of conscious participation. Your presence matters here. Let's continue. But the end of pretense. Section 2. Why this moment reaches the divine feminine at her lowest point. This moment does not arrive when the divine feminine feels strong, inspired, or certain of herself. It does not come when she is confident in the connection or empowered by clarity. It arrives at the exact point where effort collapses, where the strategies she once relied on no longer function, and where the inner scaffolding she used to hold herself together quietly gives way. Breakthrough is not born from motivation or belief. It emerges when the identity that needed reassurance finally exhausts itself. This phase comes when you are no longer trying to explain the connection to anyone, no longer defending its validity, and no longer asking yourself whether it was ever real. The constant inner dialogue goes silent, not because you have answers, but because the part of you that demanded answers no longer has the energy to speak. This is why it feels like a low point, not because you are failing, and not because something has gone wrong, but because something unnecessary is dissolving. What collapses here is not your worth, your intuition, or your destiny. What collapses is the identity that needed to hold everything together through effort, patience, endurance, or spiritual strength. From a psychological perspective, this is a moment of ego fatigue. From a spiritual perspective, it is clearance. Exhaustion at this stage is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that the psyche has stopped performing. The nervous system releases its grip. The mind relinquishes control. The ego steps aside because it can no longer sustain the illusion of management. As long as identity remains active, whether through patient waiting, spiritual striving, or empowered self-control, there is no room for the deeper architecture of the connection to reorganize itself. The soul cannot rearrange reality while the personality is still trying to supervise the process. Something must empty first. This is why exposure is required. Truth cannot enter a life that is already full of explanations, affirmations, certainty, or noise. What is real needs space, and space is only created when the old structures fall apart. This is also why the timing feels cruel yet unmistakably precise. Forcing no longer works here. Pushing forward only creates resistance. What replaces effort now is honesty, raw, unfiltered, and often uncomfortable. The truth of the soul rises without decoration or justification. You see what remains when nothing is being maintained. And that is the doorway. Not confidence, not readiness, not strength. The doorway is the end of pretense. When there is nothing left to perform, defend, or prove, the soul becomes visible. And only then can something real finally enter. Section 3. The paradox of quitting right before momentum. This is the phase where quitting does not feel dramatic or impulsive. It feels calm, rational, almost responsible. There is no emotional outburst here, no collapse into despair. Instead, there is a quiet internal conclusion that says, enough. From the mind's perspective, walking away seems logical, even mature. You are not reacting anymore, you are evaluating. You have tried everything you know how to try. You have persisted through long stretches of darkness where faith had to replace evidence. You have waited far longer than feels fair, longer than anyone around you would advise. You have adjusted your expectations, refined your beliefs, and done the inner work you were told was necessary. And still, from the surface level of the physical world, nothing appears to be changing. From a purely 3D perspective, stopping makes sense. The mind looks for movement, results, confirmation. When none arrive, it concludes that effort has been misplaced. This is precisely why this moment is so dangerous, not because you are weak, but because your reasoning is sound within the limits of linear perception. Doubt does not usually appear at the beginning of the journey. It does not arise before effort is made. True doubt appears after immense effort, after endurance, after sacrifice. It emerges when the nervous system is tired of holding uncertainty without feedback. This is not failure. It is the psyche asking for closure. Quiet doubt is often misunderstood as misalignment, but psychologically and spiritually, it is more accurately a response to delayed confirmation. When the soul senses movement but the mind sees no proof, tension builds. The mind wants an ending, any ending, because unresolved space feels intolerable. What is rarely understood is that divine momentum does not announce itself. It builds silently, invisibly, beneath the surface of reality. While the mind demands resolution, the deeper currents are still arranging timing, circumstances, and internal readiness. The soul operates below language and beyond urgency. Here lies the paradox. The closer the connection is to shifting, the stronger the argument to walk away becomes. The mind intensifies its reasoning not because nothing is happening, but because something is happening without its permission. Control feels threatened. The ego prefers a definitive ending over an uncertain opening. Progress on this path is not lost gradually. It is not eroded slowly by small doubts. It is lost all at once when conviction is abandoned at the threshold. Many walk away not because the moment was wrong, but because it was silent. This phase does not ask you to push harder. It does not require renewed effort, belief, or strategy. It asks for something far more subtle and far more difficult: non-interruption. To stop trying to manage the timing, to stop demanding proof, to resist the urge to resolve the discomfort by leaving. Stay does not mean waiting with strain. It means remaining present without interference. Presence is enough. Presence keeps the channel open. Presence allows what is already in motion to complete its course. Sometimes the most powerful act is not persistence or surrender, but restraint, the choice not to step away at the exact moment momentum is quietly forming. Stay. Your presence is sufficient. Imagine a seed planted deep beneath the soil at the end of winter. For weeks, nothing changes on the surface. The ground looks the same each day, cold, compact, unresponsive. From above, it would be reasonable to assume the seed failed, that the effort was wasted, that nothing took root. Yet beneath the soil, an entire sequence is unfolding in precise order. The shell is cracking, roots are anchoring, and the structure needed to support life is forming in complete darkness. If the gardener, trusting only what is visible, digs the seed up to check its progress, growth is destroyed instantly, not because the timing was wrong, but because the process was interrupted. This is the moment the divine feminine stands in now. What feels like stagnation is actually the most delicate phase of formation. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be fixed. The only requirement is to leave the ground undisturbed long enough for what is already alive to break through on its own. Section 4. The Divine Masculine and the Core Wound of Insufficiency. As the Divine Feminine moves into stillness, something very different is happening within the Divine Masculine. He is not resting, he is reckoning. While her path narrows into quiet presence, his path collapses inward, forcing him to confront what has been avoided for most of his life. The core wound awakening within the Divine Masculine is not, as it is often misunderstood, a fear of commitment or intimacy. It is a far more ancient and painful belief, the fear of insufficiency. Deep beneath his behaviors lives the conviction that his unguarded self is somehow unlovable, that without armor, achievement, or role, he is not enough. That he lacks the internal capacity to hold something as vast, sacred, and demanding as this connection. His identity has been built in a world that rewards performance. From an early stage, worth became something earned rather than embodied. Validation was conditional, measured through productivity, success, status, and external approval. Over time, he learned to equate love with accomplishment and safety with control. The mask became functional, the mask became survival. When the Divine Masculine encounters the Divine Feminine, he is not simply seeing another person, he is seeing a mirror that reflects wholeness without performance. Her presence does not demand that he prove himself, and paradoxically, this is what exposes him most. In her, he perceives a form of inner alignment and self-containment that he does not yet recognize within himself. This reflection does not judge him, but it illuminates the shame he has buried so deeply that even he forgot it was there. Under the influence of current planetary energies, the structures that once kept this wound hidden begin to dissolve. Work no longer provides the same distraction. Status no longer offers reassurance. Achievement loses its power to numb. The familiar strategies he relied on to feel worthy start to fail, not because he is being punished, but because they are no longer sufficient to support his evolution. What remains when the distractions fall away is the wound itself, raw, unmediated, unsolvable through effort. This wound cannot be negotiated with logic or repaired through force. There is no task that completes it, no achievement that erases it. It requires something entirely unfamiliar to him: surrender. Surrender here does not mean collapse or weakness. It means releasing the belief that worth must be proven. It means allowing himself to be seen without the scaffolding of identity. It means staying present with the discomfort of feeling not enough, without running from it or trying to overpower it. This is the moment where the Divine Masculine is asked to feel rather than perform, to remain rather than escape. This is precisely where the role of the Divine Feminine becomes essential, not through pursuit, explanation, or reassurance, but through embodied stillness. Her grounded presence creates the field in which surrender becomes possible. By no longer compensating for his wound, she allows him to finally face it. By holding her alignment without self-abandonment, she offers him a living reference point for a different way of being. In this stage, healing does not come from union, it comes from truth. And the truth being revealed is not that the Divine Masculine is insufficient, but that the belief itself was never real. Section 5. The Divine Feminine's True Call to Action. Stillness was never meant to be misunderstood as passivity. It was not withdrawal, avoidance, or waiting without purpose. Stillness was preparation. It was the internal restructuring that allowed you to stop leaking energy, stop negotiating your worth, and stop positioning yourself in response to another's confusion. In that stillness, something essential was forged: coherence. Now, the nature of your role changes. Your presence is no longer meant to be quiet in the sense of invisibility. It is meant to become transmission, not through words, effort, or explanation, but through the frequency you hold when you are no longer trying to manage the outcome. This is not the phase of chasing. It is not the phase of convincing him of the connection, the timing, or his feelings. And it is certainly not the phase of proving the bond to yourself or anyone else. What is required now is unconditional recognition, a form of seeing that does not analyze his wounds, track his behavior, or interpret his hesitation as rejection. To recognize unconditionally is to anchor his worth without attempting to repair him. It is to see him as whole, not broken, capable, not lacking, present, even if he appears silent or conflicted. This does not mean denying what he is experiencing. It means refusing to define him by it. At this stage, the most powerful shift occurs internally. The narrative must move from waiting for him to become ready to recognizing that his divinity already exists beneath the fear. Waiting implies hierarchy and delay. Recognition implies truth. When you hold him as inherently worthy, you stop reinforcing the very wound he is being asked to heal. Your certainty becomes stabilizing because it does not fluctuate in response to his doubt. It does not rise when he approaches or collapse when he retreats. It remains consistent. This consistency is not performative confidence. It is grounded knowing. And that knowing creates a field in which his nervous system can finally rest long enough to feel what has always been there. This is also the moment to release the habit of seeking external signs, numbers, messages, confirmations, movements. These were useful when your intuition was still calibrating, but now they become distractions. The truth is simpler and more confronting. You are the sign. Your regulated presence, your emotional neutrality, your lack of urgency, these speak louder than any cosmic symbol ever could. The quieter you become inside, the stronger the signal becomes. Not quiet as in suppressed, but quiet as in undistorted. No internal bargaining, no rehearsed outcomes, no emotional noise trying to force alignment. In that internal silence, your field becomes unmistakable. Efforting now interferes because it introduces pressure into a process that requires safety. Stability accelerates because it removes resistance. When you stop trying to move the connection, you allow the connection to move naturally toward coherence. This is your true call to action, to remain aligned without pursuit, present without pressure, and certain without demand. In doing so, you do not pull him forward, you make it possible for him to arrive. Section 6. The exhaustion that signals surrender. The exhaustion now moving through the divine masculine is not physical fatigue. It is not the tiredness that comes from effort, long hours, or external responsibility. It is a deeper, more destabilizing exhaustion, the kind that accumulates when a soul has been carrying unanswered questions for too long. He is weary from holding hope without resolution, from sensing something profound and inescapable, yet not allowing himself to fully name it, from standing at the edge of truth while repeatedly stepping back. The most draining aspect has not been action or struggle, but uncertainty. Living in the space between knowing and denying consumes far more energy than movement ever could. For a long time, he has defended himself against his own truth, not because he is dishonest, but because the implications of that truth felt overwhelming. To acknowledge the depth of this connection would require the dismantling of identities, beliefs, and protective structures he once depended on to feel safe. Holding that tension between inner recognition and outward resistance has been quietly exhausting his nervous system. As this exhaustion deepens, emotional intensity begins to flatten. The highs lose their charge, the lows lose their drama. What emerges can look like numbness, but this is not apathy. It is self-protection. When the system has been overstimulated by inner conflict for too long, it chooses neutrality as a way to survive. This is not shutdown, it is conservation. This neutral state often alarms the divine feminine if misunderstood. It can appear as disengagement or emotional distance. In reality, it is the psyche reaching its limit with defense mechanisms that no longer work. The masks have grown too heavy, the strategies too costly. What remains is a quiet readiness, one that cannot be forced but can be met. This is the threshold, not a breakdown, and certainly not failure. It is the moment when resistance has exhausted itself, when the mind no longer has the energy to argue against the heart, when the wound stops asking how to be protected and starts asking whether it is finally safe to rest. At this point, logic cannot lead him forward. Neither reassurance nor pressure will move him. What answers the question his wound has been asking is certainty, not spoken, not demonstrated, but embodied. Your certainty does not demand that he decide. It does not seek to pull him out of exhaustion. It simply exists as a steady reference point. In your grounded knowing, his nervous system recognizes something it has been searching for, a field where nothing must be proven, defended, or earned. This exhaustion is not the end of his journey. It is the clearing of resistance before surrender. And surrender does not come through effort. It comes when the system finally realizes it no longer has to fight itself. Here, your role is not to intervene, but to remain, because your certainty becomes the quiet answer to the question he has been carrying all along. Am I enough without the armor? If you have made it this far, pause for a moment and notice what is happening inside you. Not what you are thinking, but what you are feeling in your body and in your breath. This part of the journey is not about understanding more, it is about recognizing yourself within what has been named. Reflection here is an act of alignment. If this message resonates, you are not alone, and your experience matters. You are invited to share your story in the comments, whether it is a moment of exhaustion, surrender, or quiet certainty that you have been carrying in silence. And if words feel unnecessary, you can simply type this affirmation to anchor the frequency of this stage. I trust the stillness that knows. Your presence, your reflection, and your truth are part of the collective unfolding. Section 7. Why everything goes quiet before union. Silence is not absence, and it is certainly not abandonment. In psychological and spiritual terms, silence is signal isolation. It is the moment when the nervous system, the emotional field, and the soul itself reduce interference so that a finer frequency can finally be perceived. What feels like emptiness on the surface is, in truth, precision. Nothing unnecessary is allowed to remain. As alignment approaches, external noise naturally falls away. Conversations lose urgency. Distractions that once offered comfort or stimulation suddenly feel hollow. Even emotional highs and lows soften into neutrality. This is not apathy, it is regulation. The system is stabilizing itself after prolonged intensity. From a psychological perspective, this resembles the phase that precedes deep integration, when the psyche stops seeking stimulation and begins consolidating meaning. Spiritually, it is the clearing of bandwidth. Union cannot occur in chaos. The frequency of true union is too subtle, too coherent, to register through emotional turbulence or constant motion. Quiet is required not because nothing is happening, but because something extraordinarily delicate is forming. This stage is preparation, not punishment. It is the recalibration of identity, attachment, and perception into a unified field. This is also where many divine masculines misinterpret the moment. Accustomed to equating movement with progress and emotion with connection, they often leave just as the field becomes still. When nothing seems to be demanded, rewarded, or reinforced, the mind assumes the path has ended. But surrender is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with validation. It asks for presence without payoff. Psychologically, this is the moment when the old reward-based conditioning dissolves. Spiritually, it is the threshold where faith replaces effort. Staying requires tolerating stillness without reassurance, remaining open when nothing appears to be happening, and resisting the impulse to escape discomfort by returning to noise. This is where your steady transmission matters most. Not pursuit, not explanation, not emotional signaling, simply coherence. Your regulated presence becomes the stabilizing reference point in the field. In silence, the truth has nowhere to hide, and for the one who stays, the quiet becomes unmistakably alive. Section 8. The click and the quiet acceleration. When resistance finally dissolves, momentum does not arrive with spectacle or emotional intensity. It arrives with precision. There is a subtle internal click, a moment of alignment so clean that it barely registers as change, yet everything begins to move, not dramatically, not forcefully, but efficiently, as if an invisible mechanism has been released. Psychologically, this is the point where internal conflict collapses. The nervous system no longer oscillates between longing and defense. The mind stops negotiating outcomes. Spiritually, this is the instant when the field becomes unobstructed. Nothing new is added. What changes is that nothing interferes anymore. Blocks begin to lift without confrontation. Conversations shift tone without intention. Circumstances reorganize themselves without pressure. What once required emotional labor now unfolds naturally. This is not luck. It is alignment expressing itself through form. When inner resistance disappears, the external world no longer needs to push back. Importantly, confidence is not a prerequisite for this phase. Confidence is a byproduct. Many expect to feel certain before movement begins, but certainty follows alignment, not the other way around. The system moves first, and the mind catches up later. Trust is built retroactively through evidence, not anticipation. Once this phase activates, events begin to cluster. Timing compresses. Delays that once stretched into months resolve in days or even hours. Opportunities appear adjacent to one another, as if drawn together by a single gravitational center. Effort fades because effort was only ever required to compensate for misalignment. When alignment is present, effort becomes unnecessary. From a spiritual perspective, this is acceleration without strain. From a psychological perspective, it is flow restored. Action feels simple. Decisions feel obvious. There is no urgency, yet everything progresses. This is how union moves when it is no longer blocked by fear, identity conflict, or unresolved resistance. Union does not advance because someone pushes harder. It advances because nothing stands in its way anymore. Before we move into the next phase, pause here for a moment. Notice what is shifting inside you as you listen. Does this description of quiet momentum resonate with something you are already experiencing, or something you sense is approaching? Reflection is part of integration, and awareness anchors the frequency more deeply than action ever could. If this section spoke to you, I invite you to share your thoughts or personal experience in the comments, so this space becomes a field of recognition, not isolation. And if words feel unnecessary right now, simply type, "I allow alignment to move me," as a conscious affirmation of trust. This acknowledgement signals readiness not through effort, but through presence. Section 9. Comparison and the Divine Feminine's Final Test. Comparison is not truth. It is visibility stripped of context. When you look outward and measure yourself against others, you are not seeing the full arc of their journey. You are seeing a single frame taken at the moment of emergence, never the long seasons of silence, stagnation, doubt, or unseen inner labor that preceded it. What appears effortless from the outside is almost always the result of prolonged stabilization beneath the surface. The Divine Feminine often forgets this because her awareness is deep and relational. She instinctively scans the field, senses movement, and notices who seems to be ahead. Yet what she is actually witnessing is not progress, but timing. Visibility only comes after stability has been secured. It never comes before. Nothing real moves into the light while it is still rearranging itself internally. This is a universal law, not a personal failure. When others suddenly appear to be thriving, chosen, aligned, or activated, it does not mean you were overlooked. It means their internal structure reached coherence first. Your own path has been prioritizing depth over display, integration over announcement. Comparison becomes painful precisely because your system is nearing readiness. The closer you are to your own shift, the louder the illusion of being behind becomes. This is why comparison intensifies right before your moment arrives. It is not random, and it is not cruelty. It is the final test of sovereignty. At this stage, the Divine Feminine is asked to release the reflex to measure her worth, her timing, or her destiny against anyone else's visible outcome. This test is subtle because it disguises itself as self-improvement or motivation. But underneath it is a question of trust. Can you remain anchored in your own alignment without external confirmation? Can you stay present in your preparation without demanding proof that it is working? Passing this test does not require effort. It requires relinquishment. When your moment arrives, it will not feel like catching up, competing, or proving anything. It will feel inevitable, as though it could not have unfolded any other way. The urgency to compare will fall away naturally, because comparison only exists when you doubt the precision of your own path. and by the time visibility comes for you, you will understand why it had to wait. Section 10. Why the final hour is the hardest. The final hour is not difficult because something is going wrong. It is difficult because everything external goes quiet at once. There is no resistance to push against, no chaos to react to, no visible movement to interpret as progress. Even the signs that once reassured you begin to fade. This is intentional. The final hour removes all external confirmation so that conviction can no longer be borrowed from circumstances. It must become internal, self-sustaining, and unshakable. Up until this point, endurance has often been supported by feedback. Pain confirmed that something was being challenged. Emotional intensity confirmed that something mattered. Synchronicities confirmed that you were seen. But in the final hour, none of that remains. There is no friction to validate your effort, and no reward to motivate your patience. You are asked to remain steady without evidence. This is why endurance without feedback is the hardest form of strength. It requires presence without reinforcement, and trust without stimulation. This hour compresses everything you have learned into a single requirement: stability. All the lessons, healings, initiations, and recalibrations converge here. You are no longer being taught through contrast or correction. You are being tested through neutrality. Can you hold your alignment when nothing reacts to it? Can you remain certain when nothing mirrors it back to you? This is not about doing more or trying harder. It is about becoming immovable in your knowing. The final hour is not waiting for something to arrive. It is preparing the container that will receive it. What is coming cannot be sustained by hope, urgency, or emotional momentum. It requires certainty. Anything that cannot be held in calm conviction cannot last once it appears. This is why the stillness feels so exposed. The universe is no longer shaping you through experience. It is observing whether you can remain whole without reassurance. When this hour passes, movement will return, but it will return differently. It will not test you, it will meet you. And what arrives next will stay, because you have learned how to hold it without needing proof that it belongs to you. Section 11. Why people quit here. People do not quit at this stage because they lack strength. They quit because the silence becomes psychologically demanding. Silence does not simply remove stimulation, it demands interpretation. When nothing external responds, the mind rushes to supply meaning. Logic steps in to explain the quiet, and retreat begins to feel like wisdom, self-respect, or emotional maturity. Walking away appears reasonable when there is no visible reason to stay. This is why so many leave here, not from weakness, but from the pressure to conclude something that has not yet finished unfolding. In this space, relief often arrives quickly after the decision to step back. The nervous system relaxes, the uncertainty seems to end. But that relief does not come from completion. It comes from severing the connection prematurely. Ending tension by withdrawal feels stabilizing, yet it bypasses the final integration that would have allowed the cycle to close organically. What is avoided is not pain, but the last moment of trust required to remain present without explanation. This margin is extraordinarily narrow. From the outside, it feels as though nothing is happening, as though momentum has vanished or distance has grown. In truth, what feels distant is already stabilizing beneath the surface. The movement now is internal, structural, and almost invisible. This is why action feels inappropriate and stillness feels unrewarding. You are not meant to intervene, you are meant to hold. Divine momentum at this stage is quiet by design. It does not chase, persuade, or reassure. It waits for your final, unwavering signal of certainty. Not effort, not endurance, certainty. When that signal is sustained, movement resumes without force. Those who remain do not do so because they tried harder. They remain because they trusted the silence long enough for it to complete its work. This moment does not ask you to push harder, to prove anything, or to become someone else. It asks only for alignment, for presence, for the courage to stay where you are without interfering with what is already unfolding. What is moving now does not require your effort, because effort belongs to earlier phases. This phase belongs to trust. Stay. Do not step away from the stillness simply because it does not reward you immediately. Do not interrupt the current simply because your mind wants confirmation. What is aligning now is subtle, precise, and already in motion. Your presence is not passive. It is the stabilizing force that allows the alignment to complete itself without distortion. Your certainty matters more than action. Your restraint is not hesitation. It is power under control. When you remain grounded, when you choose not to chase or force or question, you become the anchor that holds the frequency steady. This is how momentum completes itself. This is how timing locks into place. Thank you for walking this path with awareness. Thank you for staying when it would have been easier to leave, for enduring the quiet phases without abandoning yourself, and for carrying your light without needing to display it. Few understand how much strength it takes to remain present when nothing is being demanded outwardly, yet everything is shifting inwardly. As you move forward from this moment, remain sovereign in your energy and grounded in your knowing. Remember who you are beneath the noise, beneath the waiting, beneath the old patterns that no longer apply. The moment you have been waiting for is not ahead of you. It has already begun, and you are inside it now. If this message resonated, leave a comment below with the words, "I stay present. I trust the alignment." Let it anchor the frequency you are choosing. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who may need this reminder, and continue the journey by watching the next video below.